Hello, I am Becky Doherty. I am running for the seat that Judge Enloe is soon vacating. It is so important for you to know who you're voting for the Court of Common Pleas. The judges in the Court of Common Pleas obviously hear all levels of felonies, from the lowest level felony theft offenses to capital murder. I've been a prosecutor for more than 21 years. I am currently the chief of the criminal division in Mahoning County. Prior to that, since 1992, I was a violent crime unit prosecutor in Summit County, handling the aggravated murders, the rapes, the robberies, as well as the organized crime cases and the drug task force cases. And I tell you that because what I have learned from working in other counties has really served me well. I chose to live here in Portage County. I raised my children here in Portage County. They both graduated from Field High School. Now I live in Ravenna. But I've always chosen to work in the field that I do, handling violent crimes, the most dangerous criminals in other counties. And that has really served me well. My children were able to grow up feeling safe in Portage County, knowing that all the bad guys that Mom prosecuted were someplace else. And that was really a good thing for them. But I have also learned how proactive other courts can be, other counties can be. Summit County, Mahoning County, their whole court system is just much more aggressive, more assertive. They deal with the criminal element in a much different way than we do here in Portage County. And I'm going to use that when I am on the bench, because as a prosecutor, I understand how violent crime affects our communities, how it affects victims, how it affects their families. I've prosecuted 22 capital cases, death penalty cases. So that type of litigation is so specialized, and you can ask the appellate candidates. Death penalty litigation is truly a specialty, and it has become more so in the last 10, 15 years, because we have courts of appeals, especially the Sixth Circuit, our federal courts, who scrutinize these cases to the point that it's very difficult to, even once you obtain a conviction for the death penalty, even once the jury sentences someone to death, it's very hard to ensure that that conviction, that death penalty sentence, is going to be maintained and someday carried out. Having that knowledge, that litigation background in capital cases certainly will serve me well here on the bench in Portage County. Fortunately, we don't have as many capital cases and death penalty types of homicides that are eligible for the death penalty here in Portage County as we do maybe in other counties. But I tell you what, the ones that we do have had better be handled by a judge, a trial judge, who knows what they're doing, who knows how to handle those cases and knows that every single move you make as a judge in capital litigation is going to be scrutinized down the road, and you better make sure you know what you're doing so that that conviction sticks. I've also tried over 200 jury felony trials. I've prosecuted thousands, but being a trial attorney is much different than just being a prosecutor and going in there and pleading cases. I actually try those cases, more so than my opponent. My opponent has tried very few cases compared to me. I've probably tried more cases, actually jury tried more cases than most prosecutors, most lawyers in this part of the state. And that's because I was in other counties and I really was trained well. I had a lot of good judges who taught me. I had a lot of good prosecutors who I worked with. And as a result of that, one of the specialties that I have been doing in the last few years is handling cold case murders. In 2013, in November, I tried a triple aggravated murder from 1974. An entire family was murdered. Actually, almost the entire family. Mom, dad, 4-year-old little girl. Mom and dad were shot to death. 4-year-old Heather was beaten to death because he ran out of bullets. 1-year-old Christopher was left there to die, but he survived. James Ferrara is the one who killed that entire family back in 1974. Unfortunately, at the time, we did not have the sophisticated ability to compare fingerprints through an automated system like we do now. So since 1974, for almost 40 years, that crime was unsolved. But about 2 years ago, we started looking at cold cases, and we realized that we still had some physical evidence, and we were able to use that physical evidence, 3 fingerprints that were found on the back door of that house that was broken into where those horrible murders occurred. 3 fingerprints still remained, and we were able to put those into the AFIS system and get a match, and we found out who it was. The problems that I encountered then, after 40 years trying to take that case to trial, I had to track down the witnesses who survived. Certainly, most of the police officers, unfortunately, the investigating police officers had passed away. The forensic folks who had lifted the fingerprints had passed away. So it was very, very difficult to do that. But at the end of the day, I tracked down enough people, and I was able to convict this man for a triple aggravated murder from 1974. That is what a dedicated prosecutor does. You don't look at a case and say it's just too hard. It's just something that I can't do. It's way too difficult. I've never done that. I've never given up. I have prosecuted cases that no one thought could be prosecuted, and I did that because I want to protect the community. I want to protect victims. I want to give some solace to those families who live through whatever the crime is, whether it's a home invasion, burglary, whether it's a rape case, whether it's a homicide. That's what I've always done as a prosecutor, and that's what I will do as a judge. I can tell you that I'm very passionate about the law. I am passionate about the courtroom. I feel that to be an effective judge, you really have to have been a trial attorney. I am also a village solicitor, and I know the civil aspects. I know the civil litigation that goes along with the job as well. Although my passion, I guess, is in the criminal aspect of it, I also do deal with the civil perspective. I hope that in November, voters, judges are really the least known quantity of all candidates. I think most people know, they'll know about their state representatives, they'll know what position certain politicians take, but judges really are an unknown quantity. And unless you really look, unless you really pay attention to who you're voting for, and not just go in and vote based on a name that you recognize. Please pay attention. Vote for the person who really is going to do the most for Portage County, the most for where I live. Like I said, I work someplace else. I work in Mahoning, and I deal with horrible crimes there. But at the end of the day, I come home to Portage County, and I always have. And I want this county to be safe for my kids and my grandkids and your kids. And we need proactive judges on the bench who are going to make a difference. And that's what I'm going to do. Thank you.